92.7, 96.9 WRRV, the Hudson Valley's alternative. And comedy is coming back this weekend at Laugh It Up Comedy Club. It's Saturday, May 12th. We've got one of the comedians on the bill. We got Ellin. Ray, what's going on, man?
I'm happy to do it. So far, my whole day, I've just been running errands. It's been very uneventful, very unexciting. I'm in Manhattan right now. It's kind of exhausting. Even though everything is on the same block, like the bank, the dry cleaner, the supermarket, it's still just draining going from place to place. I just got out of the supermarket, and I bought I don't cook. I just bought like some cold cuts and like some hummus and stuff. But there was a lady in front of me today at the supermarket, and she bought three things: a 6-pack of beer, a carton of cigarettes, and one giant cucumber. That's all, Nick. That's all she bought, those three things. I have never seen an entire evening laid out on a conveyor belt. You know what I mean? A cucumber and cigarettes and booze. You know, I figured I was going to talk to her because I assumed that she was single, but I was way too intimidated by that cucumber. You know? I'm not a health freak. I don't eat all those salads, so I don't know what she's up to.
How old was she?
79. She was 79, Nick. And she had, Pabst Blue Ribbon and a pack of menthols and a big giant squash. But there's something to be said about there's nothing wrong with dating people much older. I'm on Tinder. I'm doing like all that online dating stuff, and I wanted to expand my dating pool. So I downloaded this app that's meant for much older people, and it's called Ashes. And I met a woman who she'd been swiped on it so many times she had an actual indent on her face. It was unbelievable. So, you got to be open to things, man. It can't all just be Tinder and Bumble. You got to go for the Ashes.
I'm going to look it up. It's at App Store. I'm going to have to check that one out.
Yeah, so how's the dating scene in Poughkeepsie?
Oh, it's you know what? It's not that good. It should be better. There's all these colleges around. I thought it would be way better than it is, to be quite honest.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how old you are, Nick, but do the college women there, have you met any that like to date an older guy?
Not really. I think it's because you're right. They're on Tinder, and we need to be on Ashes. I think that's where we're on two totally different playing fields.
That's the world we're living in. We're living in a crematorium, and they're living in the real world.
Everything's fresh, new, and nice in their world. Ours, it's terrible.
Everything is shiny and pretty, and we're all rusty and cloudy.
Let life beat them up a little bit, and then come to me.
Exactly. Then they'll be ready to change their settings to the same parameters of your age range. Yeah. That's good.
Once they start getting their daddy issues come to light, that's when I'm hoping to clean house.
Is that right?
Yes.
You're looking for a woman with daddy issues. Is that right, Nick?
Yes.
I wish there was a third person on today's show, and that third person would be a psychologist who would really analyze exactly what the hell we're talking about here.
Listen, man, they can psychoanalyze me 5 days a week, 6 to 10. They know how screwed up I am.
Man, that's a lot of airtime. That's 20 hours. No wonder that's why you don't have time to meet college students. You're too busy on the air. I'm psyched. I have not been to Poughkeepsie since, I don't know, probably like 12 years ago. I did a show at Marist College.
Right, okay.
I did that, and then after the show, I ate at there was a school, like a culinary school, I guess.
Yes, the Culinary Institute of America. It's kind of it's a big deal around here.
That's a huge deal everywhere. I didn't know the actual name. It was so long ago. But it was amazing. I mean, I had the most incredible meal after the show at Marist. The show at Marist was okay. I remember it being okay. I remember the meal being far more enjoyable than the set I did that night at the school. Everybody was really friendly at the culinary school at Marist, and I thought Poughkeepsie was like a really beautiful place. But I remember just like being like, after that show, I gotta eat, and I gotta eat a lot.
Yeah, and I felt like you went to two of the most beautiful schools around too. Marist is a beautiful campus, and the Culinary Institute. That's a beautiful campus. They say it's like they call it the Hogwarts of culinary school. It's kind of
is that right?
Yeah, it's like stone. It's like almost like a castle. It's kind of strange. But
you know what? Maybe I'll stay an extra day so I can have another meal there, and maybe I'll run into Hermione.
Yeah, I think you should go there. Try to get a show at the Culinary. Cut out the middleman.
I love that. If I could just get a show in the kitchen at the Culinary.
They take care of your rider there, I hear. pretty well.
Yeah, I would hope so. As long as there's a lot of portobello mushrooms, I'm golden.
So you said that was 12 years ago. You were at Marist?
Yeah, I used to perform in lots of different schools all over. I mean, really all over the country. I used to go to New Mexico a lot, and Texas, and Louisiana, and I was all over Virginia and Florida, and Pennsylvania, and upstate New York. I did tons of like SUNY schools, and I got to perform at Marist, and but I have not been to Poughkeepsie since then, and it was like, which is crazy because I mean, New York City, we're only like an hour and a half away.
Hour and a half, yeah.
Yeah.
Easy train ride.
So I'm pretty.
Well, I was going to ask you because that made me think of this. A lot of comedians now are kind of straying away from doing college shows. Is that something that you've kind of experienced? I mean, everyone from like Seinfeld to Chris Rock, like they don't want to do it because college audiences, they say that they're offended too easily. Have you experienced anything like that, or are you still open to doing colleges?
I'm still open to doing, I like to work, so I'm open to doing gigs, I do think that things have become hypersensitive. I mean, the last time I did a college, they said to me, don't talk about sex or drugs. And I swear, and I looked at the faculty that said it to me, and I was like, what do you think these kids are doing or trying to do? Like, and these are just jokes. If I joke about someone smoking weed, they're not going to suddenly set up a meth lab. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. I do find that, and people are the people are like looking for a reason to be outraged. So it's total BS, and it's foolishness because it's not the real world. You can't, and these are just words and jokes, and it's ridiculous. So I do get why some of those guys don't want to do colleges. Also, at some point, you don't always relate to a room full of 519-year-olds. You're not necessarily going to relate to them. If you're at a club, like if I'm in a club in New York or wherever, then it's a little different when it's a mix. And it's a mix of people from 21 to 80. It's just it's a little more broad. But I don't really. It should be what's funny is funny, and I don't know what the hell people did to raise their kids to be so sensitive. I mean, I don't. Do you have kids?
I do not. No.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I guess by today's standards, I'd be a really crappy parent. I don't.
Maybe. Yeah, I just think kids, they just need something to complain about. I feel like you just need to. I can't believe they would give you, of all things, drugs and sex. Like that to me, I find that a little bizarre. Like you said, what are they talking about when they're not here? If not 24 hours of the day, what are they thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's such so ridiculous. What do they think I'm going to do? I'm going to do a bunch of jokes about the stock market? I mean, these kids don't, It's so dumb. I could, you could only do so many bits about Tinder and social media, and my Instagram and Tinder chunk, only goes about 5 minutes. So what am I going to do the rest of the hour?
Now, if you're just joining me, I've got Ray Ellin. He's going to be at Laugh It Up Comedy Club in Poughkeepsie this weekend. And you said you love to work, and I see that, man. I'm seeing that you're a comedian, you're an actor, you're a host, you've got a website, and it just kind of makes me think, like, is there anything you don't do?
That's nice of you. There's a book I'm working on. It hasn't come out yet, but you know what I'm really excited about? There's a couple things that have been going on. I have a new show coming out on Comedy Central. It'll be on Friday nights, but I don't know when. They'll probably start maybe September, it could be November, but it's I'm executive producing a show. It's called This Week at the Cellar, and it's a weekly topical stand-up show. So it'll be a lot of different comics talking about whatever's going on in the world that week. Doing bits on stage, and we shoot it at the Comedy Cellar in New York City, which is it could be the most famous club in America. I'm hoping that Laugh It Up in Poughkeepsie ends up becoming right up there with the Cellar, and it should be really great. So that'll start this fall. It's no secret. They announced it. I'm not sharing anything that wasn't. I also host the live stage version of the Gong Show. So there's a TV version of the Gong Show, and then there's an official stage version. So
I was gonna ask you about this because I feel like being a game show host is like every dude's dream, even if they don't want to admit it.
I love it.
Even if they don't want to admit it, you want to be that guy.
Yeah. I've been very open about that. I think it's really, really fun and cool. I mean,
and I've seen the pictures now. You even put on the wig, right? Was it Chuck Barris? Was that his name?
Yeah. So I met with Chuck Barris, and he gave me his blessing to host the show. And I have a sort of a 70s looking wig, kind of like a sort of mini afro kind of thing. And the show's really fun. It's just it's outrageous.
So the Gong Show Live, that's in the city?
That tours. That's a touring
show.
So we're going to be, we'll be we're doing dates in Jersey and Pennsylvania. in New York City, Connecticut. A lot of it's the tri-state area, and that's gongshowlive.net, and people can find, or they can go to my website, which is Ray Ellin or raycomedy.com. It's easy to remember, raycomedy.com. But it's so much fun. It's like, there's this one woman, she's got to be about 90, and she's like this contortionist. And, you know, the act is great, but you're always kind of holding your breath thinking, like, you know, something's going to crack. But it's really fun.
Something could give at any moment.
At any moment.
Yeah. Now, I'm also seeing here that you were honored as one of New York's best emerging artists, right? And 10 standout stand-ups worth watching. What's it like winning an award like that, or just people in the comedy world saying that about you? Does that kind of set new expectations? Or I kind of feel like in comedy, you do it to be kind of rebellious in the first place. So, like, do awards like that really matter, or do they get to you?
It's always flattering to be acknowledged. You know, everybody, you know, there's a lot of things, like there's a lot of events I don't want to attend, but it's always really nice to get invited, you know? So it's really flattering to get get an award like that. But on the other hand, you also have to take it with a grain of salt and be like, you know what, all these awards are kind of bullshit. You know, because it's so subjective. It's like, do I think I deserve that award? Yeah, why not? Sure, I'm great. But you know, it's so subjective. And I think everybody, though, no matter who they are, whatever the comic is, no matter how outrageous they are on stage or however clean, how dirty, everybody wants to get like a pat on the back from their colleagues, you know, for sure.
And you were talking about your show on Comedy Central that takes place at the Comedy Cellar in New York City. Now, what is it like performing in New York City compared to other places in the country? I feel like New York is just the hub of comedy. That's just my perspective. Is that true? And like, how would you? Because I know you do that tour in Aruba too, right?
Oh yeah.
So what's it like comparing? How do you compare it to the rest of the country and I guess even the world?
Well, you know what? Okay, so New York City to me still stands as like that's anything goes. Should be able to do whatever. When an audience is a little uptight, it's generally because they're either super politically correct or they're from other parts of the world, other parts of America, where maybe they're a little more conservative. But in New York City itself, for the most part, you know, in a nightclub, you should be able to say and do whatever you want, and you know, and it's kind of a free for all. But you definitely get some people that are confused and they think they're in a safe space, you know, because things are changing a little bit. But if I'm in other parts of America, if I'm performing, you know, like in Iowa, then I probably will adjust, you know, what I say. Or like I once performed at Sacred Heart University in Connecticut, and I was on stage almost asking the audience if I was okay to talk about this and that and whatever. And more often, and everybody was cool with it. I just wanted to establish, like, you know, get into a subject that could be a little risque or whatever. New York, to me, is like that's the epicenter of anything goes. Now, on the I have a comedy club in Aruba called the Aruba Rays, and that's seasonal. It's like 100 shows a year. I bring New York comedians with me. So, like, everybody on the show is, like, a really good comic. You know, everybody's been on, like, Tonight Show and Letterman and has their own HBO special or whatever, has been on Saturday Night Live. So everyone's really good, but you're dealing with an audience that, you know, is not necessarily from New York City, that is really great. Like, they're psyched, they're ready to have a really good time. But, you know, they're on vacation, they're in Aruba, you know, they don't want to think about, you know, anything political or that kind of stuff, you know. But for the most part, those crowds are awesome. Like, they're really good because they just want to have they are prepared to have fun. It's not like sometimes you go to a club and someone's being dragged there on like a date. Like, you know, they don't want to be there, but they're like, shit, I got to go out with, you know, with whoever. I got to take my girlfriend out, or, you know, or she's like, oh, I got to, you know, whatever it is. And they don't really want to be there, and you can tell, you know. Whereas like in Aruba, they got that ticket because they are dying to be at a show, you know. From what the vibe I've gotten from talking to other comics, that at Laugh It Up in Poughkeepsie, the crowds there are like, they're excited to go to a show.
Yes, they are excited. I'm excited. The Hudson Valley is excited. Stand-up comedy alive and well in the Hudson Valley. That was Ray Ellin. He's going to be with Chuck Nice, Missy Allen, and Dan McRitchie at the Laugh It Up Comedy Club in Poughkeepsie. Ray, thanks so much for joining me, man.